My name is Emily Parker, and on my wedding night I learned a lesson I never, ever wanted to learn. I had spent weeks planning the perfect gift for my new husband, Jason Miller. I picked a silver watch with his initials on the back and a tiny heart next to them. I wrote a note that said, "For all our seconds together." I wanted him to remember our love every time he checked the time. But when we got to the hotel suite and the door clicked shut, Jason smiled in a strange, tight way and said, "I have a gift for you, too." He didn't hand me a box. He handed me a white envelope. It was thick and heavy, like it was full of papers. My hands shook. I thought maybe it was plane tickets for a surprise trip or a letter he had written that I would keep forever. I opened the envelope and slid the papers out. On top was a cover page that said, in big black letters, "Post-nuptial agreement." Under that, smaller letters, "Effective immediately, signed tonight." My mouth went dry. The first line I read said I would transfer our house into his name. The second line said I would put my business, my small bakery that I built from nothing, under his control. The third line said if I told anyone about the agreement, I would owe him money I didn't have. There was even a line about privacy regarding prior relationships, like there was a secret I was not allowed to ask about. At the bottom, there was a blank space for my signature and a little gold notary stamp. I lifted my eyes to Jason. He wasn't smiling anymore. His face was cold and flat, like a door with no handle. "Go ahead," he said softly. "Sign it. It's not a big deal." I looked down again. My chest pounded so hard it hurt. I turned the page, and my breath caught at the last paragraph. I felt my stomach twist. The room seemed to tilt. I looked back up at him. "What is this?" I whispered. My voice sounded small and far away. Jason shrugged, like we were talking about the weather. "It's my gift to you," he said. "Security. Structure. A plan." I stared at the last paragraph again, the one with words that felt like a slap. I pressed my lips together so they wouldn't shake and slid the papers back into the envelope. My hands were ice. In that moment, two thoughts ran through my mind at the same time. One was from the vows I had just said, "I choose you." The other was my mother's voice from years ago. "Emily, kindness is not letting people hurt you. Kindness also means protecting your heart." I set the envelope on the table. Then I walked to the closet, pulled out my carry-on, and unzipped it. The sound of the zipper was loud in the quiet room. Jason's eyes narrowed, but he didn't move. I grabbed my dress bag, my makeup, my phone charger. Every motion was slow, careful, like I was learning how to move again inside a body that suddenly felt borrowed. I pulled the suitcase onto the bed and started to pack. That's when Jason finally spoke again, voice low and sharp. "Emily, don't be dramatic." I didn't answer. I gently placed the engraved watch I bought him on the table next to the envelope he gave me. The watch caught the light and flashed, like it was trying to warn me. I reached for my shoes. The hotel air conditioner hummed. Somewhere outside our window, a car horn beeped and then faded. It felt like the city was already moving on without us. "Emily," he said again, more firm, "you're not going anywhere." I closed my eyes for 1 second and thought about the way this day began, when everything still felt soft and golden and safe. The morning of the wedding started with the smell of cinnamon rolls. I had baked them myself at dawn because I bake when I'm happy and when I'm nervous. I delivered a tray to the bridesmaid's suite and a smaller tray to the groomsmen's room. Everyone laughed and said, "Only you would be cooking on your wedding day." I said, "It's therapy with sugar," and they all smiled. My maid of honor, Lauren, curled my hair while we played a playlist of sleepy love songs. My mom, Patricia Parker, everyone calls her Patty, kept pressing my hands and saying, "You're my brave girl." My dad, Mark, told me to breathe. He fixed the tiny pearl earring that kept trying to run away. Jason texted me around 9 in the morning. "Can't wait to see you. I have something special for you tonight." I sent a photo of the silver watch box wrapped in blue paper and said, "Me too." He sent back a heart emoji and a key emoji. I wondered if the key meant the hotel key to our suite. I thought it was cute. At the church, I met Jason's mother, Sandra Miller, at the door. She hugged me in a stiff way, like hugging was a sport she didn't like to play. "Welcome to the family," she said. "We take care of our own." I told her thank you and felt a chill, but I blamed it on the air vents. The ceremony was simple and sweet. We said our vows. He said, "I will always protect you." I said, "I will always stand with you." Lauren handed me my bouquet at the right time. The pastor made us laugh when he mixed up our middle names. People cried in that pretty way that looks like a perfume ad. When Jason slid the ring on my finger, my heart felt like a sunrise. At the reception, my dad gave a toast. He talked about the day I opened the bakery in a little strip mall with one oven and 2 shelves and a sign I painted myself. He said, "Emily believes in building good things one small step at a time." People clinked their glasses. Jason squeezed my hand under the table and said, "I'm so lucky." I believed him. There were tiny moments I could have noticed if I had been looking. Jason kept his phone face down on the linen. He stepped out twice to take a call. He winced when my Aunt Rachel started talking about how love is patient and kind, like patience was a word he didn't like. But weddings are a glow that hides shadows. I told myself, stop overthinking. Be happy. You marry the person you know. When it was time to leave, I changed into a short white dress with silver shoes. Everyone tossed biodegradable confetti, Lauren's idea. She's in love with turtles, and we all respect the turtles. We climbed into a car with a "Just Married" sign. It felt like a movie. I leaned into Jason's shoulder. He smelled like cedar and mint. He kissed the top of my head. "To forever," he said. "To forever," I said back. The hotel was high above the city. The elevator ride felt endless in a good way. When the doors opened to our floor, it was quiet and plush and dim. Jason walked ahead with quick steps. He swiped the card and pushed the suite door open like he had been here before. Inside, the lights were low. A small plate of chocolate-covered strawberries sat on the table. A note said, "Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Miller." I laughed and said, "They don't know I'm keeping Parker." He laughed too, but it sounded hollow. I set my purse down and picked up the plate. "Do you want one?" "In a minute," he said, already walking toward the bedroom. "I have to take care of something." He took off his jacket and draped it on a chair, neat and careful, the way he does everything. He looked at me, like he was studying my face to read the weather. "Actually," he said, "I have a gift for you first." My heart lifted. This was the moment with the surprise. Maybe it was the letter. Maybe it was a necklace. Maybe it was a silly inside joke turned into something we would laugh about for years. He reached into his suitcase and pulled out the white envelope. I didn't understand at first. It felt like being handed a homework packet on the last day of school. I waited for him to smile and say, "I'm kidding." He didn't. "You'll want to read it all," Jason said, voice smooth like cold water. "It's standard. Everyone does it in my family." "Everyone," I said. "Your sister had to sign something like this?" He nodded, quick and dismissive. "It's just how we operate. It protects us both." I sat at the table, slid out the papers, and began to read. The words pressed into my eyes. Transfer. Assign. Waive. Silence. Prior relationships. The letters felt heavy, like they had weight and were trying to crush me flat. "Jason," I said, still trying to be soft, still trying to be kind, because kindness is part of who I am and I don't lose myself easily. "This is not normal." "It's normal for us," he said. My mind did the math of our past year. The times he avoided talking about money, with a smooth joke and a kiss. The way his mom said, "We take care of our own." The time he told me I was too trusting and smiled like it was adorable. I remembered a night 2 months ago when I told him I wanted to protect my bakery because it was my dream. He kissed my forehead and said, "You'll never have to worry with me." I thought he meant he would stand beside me, not stand on top of me. I turned to the last page and read the last paragraph. It was the kind of paragraph that changes the shape of the room. The kind that makes you feel like someone pulled a rug and you're still somehow standing, but you know the floor is different now. My throat burned. I set the papers down because my fingers were starting to shake. "Emily," Jason said. He moved closer, slow, like he didn't want to spook a stray cat. This is a smart move. We'll both be happier. Sign it, and we won't have to fight. We can just enjoy tonight. Enjoy tonight. The words hit like ice water. I thought of my mom again. Kindness is not letting people hurt you. I stood up. I walked to the closet. I pulled out the suitcase and put it on the bed. The zipper sound cut the air. Are you serious? Jason asked, and now there was something dark in his voice. You're not leaving over a few pieces of paper. I didn't answer. I put my makeup bag into the suitcase. My brush. My ring box from earlier. I took off my silver shoes and packed them too. I stood in my bare feet on the soft carpet that felt like a lie. Jason reached for the envelope and waved it. You think you're the first woman to get one of these? My dad has one with my mom. My sister has one with her husband. We're a serious family, Emily. We do things the right way. We contain problems before they spread. I stared at him. Am I a problem now? He didn't answer that. He just tapped the envelope, like that answered everything. Let's not make a scene. I remembered the day I signed my lease on the bakery. The landlord asked me if I was sure. My place had been empty for months. I said, I'm sure. I remembered the first customer, who came in and told me my cinnamon roll tasted like childhood. I remembered delivering free cupcakes to the shelter on my block after a long storm night, because my mom taught me that empathy is not just a word, it's a warm hand and a hot meal. I thought of Jason's gift, and I knew he didn't understand kindness. He understood control. I packed my phone charger. I packed the little blue ribbon from my bouquet. I packed my courage, which has no shape but takes up a lot of space. Jason stepped into my path, his hand on the envelope, his body a door. Emily, sign and we can sleep. Tomorrow you'll thank me. I looked past him at the silver watch I had placed on the table, the one I bought him with love. It lay next to the envelope he handed me with rules. My gift said, I want to spend time with you. His gift said, I want to spend your life for you. I picked up my suitcase handle. My fingers were steady now. Move, I said, calm and clear. He blinked, surprised by the strength in my voice. He didn't move. The room phone started ringing. Sharp, sudden, too loud in the quiet. It rang once. Twice. 3 times. Jason flicked his eyes toward it but didn't go. He was still looking at me, waiting to see if I would bend. I didn't. On the 4th ring, he grabbed the receiver and snapped. What? His face changed while he listened, just a small twitch at the corner of his mouth, but I saw it. He said, No, everything is fine, then set the phone down. I lifted the suitcase off the bed. My arms felt strong. My legs felt like roots pulling up and walking on their own. I moved toward the door. Jason reached out, palm open, like he wanted to cut my elbow and guide me back like I was a piece of furniture. I shifted, and his hand caught air. Emily, he said again, lower, warning. I touched the door handle. It was cool and firm. I heard another sound then, not the phone, not the AC, not the city below. A small tap 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 from the hallway. A knock. Jason's eyes flashed. Mine did too. I pulled in a breath and opened the door. And on the other side stood the last person I expected to see on my wedding night. Someone holding something that didn't belong in a hallway at all. I froze. The suitcase, handle pressed into my palm. My heart kicked. Jason's gift lay on the table behind us like a snake coiled and waiting. Mrs. Miller, the person said, voice careful. I'm sorry to bother you, but we need to talk. The tap of my heart became a drum. The hallway lights hummed. I felt the next moment coming toward me like a wave. I could not stop. I took one small step forward, clutching the handle of my bag, everything in me ready to choose the kind of kindness that protects. The figure standing at my door wore the hotel's uniform, but his eyes told me he wasn't there to deliver towels or chocolate. He carried a clipboard pressed against his chest, almost like a shield. His voice was steady but low, as if he didn't want the whole floor to hear. Mrs. Miller, he said again, this came to the front desk by courier. It has your name on it. We thought it was urgent. He held out a sealed envelope, cream-colored, heavier than normal paper. My fingers tightened around my suitcase handle. Behind me, Jason moved closer, and I felt his shadow brush mine on the carpet. "Thank you," I whispered, taking the envelope. My hand brushed the man's, and I swear I saw something in his eyes, a flicker, like he wanted to warn me, but couldn't. He gave me the smallest nod, then turned and disappeared down the hallway without another word. Jason closed the door with a sharp click. "Who the hell is sending you mail here?" His voice was tight, sharp at the edges. I didn't answer. I broke the seal and slid out the contents. There were photographs. Black and white, high-contrast photographs of Jason. My breath caught. In one, he was stepping out of a car with a woman I didn't know. In another, he was handing her a box, maybe jewelry, maybe money. In another, they were kissing in front of a place I recognized instantly, the courthouse downtown. The date in the corner of the photo was just 3 weeks ago. My chest went cold. "What is this?" I whispered, my voice trembling. Jason's face didn't flinch. "It's nothing." He snatched at the photos, but I pulled them back against my chest. "Emily, don't make it into something. Those are old. Staged. She's nobody." "Nobody." My voice cracked on the word. My hand shook, but I held onto those pictures like they were the last solid ground under my feet. "You married me today." "Today. And 3 weeks ago you were—" I couldn't even finish the sentence. He ran his hand through his hair, pacing now. "You don't understand. There are things about my life, about my family, that you just don't get yet. That's why the agreement matters. To protect us both." I laughed, but it wasn't laughter. It was the kind that breaks open from pain. "Protect us?" "Jason, you're protecting your secrets." The air in the room felt thin. My suitcase sat open on the bed, half-packed. The engraved watch I had given him that morning glimmered under the lamp. His gift, the cruel contract, lay beside it. And now these photographs, another layer of betrayal piled on top. He turned toward me suddenly, his face hard. "Emily, listen. You're not walking out of here. Not tonight. Not after all this." I backed up until I hit the dresser. My hands clutched the envelope so tightly the paper crinkled. My heart was pounding so loud I was sure he could hear it. "Jason," I said softly, almost pleading. "Please don't do this. Please don't become this man." He stared at me, breathing hard, like he was weighing his options. Then his lips twisted into something colder than a smile. "You should have just signed the papers." And that's when the phone on the nightstand rang again. This time, he didn't move to answer it. He just stood there, eyes locked on mine, like the sound was part of some game. The shrill ring cut through the silence, each chime sharper than the last. My pulse raced as I wondered who could possibly be calling, and whether that ringing was my only lifeline out of the nightmare that had just unfolded. I reached for it, but Jason moved faster. He slammed his hand down on the receiver, cutting the ring short. His voice was low, controlled, dangerous. "We're not finished here." And in that moment, with the photographs still clutched to my chest, I realized I was standing at the edge of something far darker than a broken promise. The question was no longer whether I would leave. The question was whether I would make it out safe at all. Jason's hand still pressed down on the phone receiver, his knuckles white, his jaw tight. His whole body seemed carved from stone. The silence that followed was worse than the ringing itself, thick, suffocating, filled with all the things neither of us was saying. I clutched the photos tighter against my chest, their edges biting into my skin. My suitcase sat half-packed on the bed, like a witness to the chaos unraveling around us. The watch I had given him glimmered under the lamp, mocking me with its shine. "Jason," I said, my voice shaking, "move your hand." He didn't. His eyes burned into mine. "Why do you care who's calling? You're my wife now. What happens in this room stays in this room." That line, "what happens in this room stays in this room," sent a chill crawling down my spine. It sounded rehearsed, like something he'd said before. Not just to me. To someone else. The phone, silenced under his palm, started buzzing again, a second call, forcing its way through. Jason's eyes flicked down, and for the first time that night, I saw it, a flash of fear. He didn't want me to know who was on the other end. I realized then that if I wanted answers, this was my chance. My body moved before my brain did. I lunged forward, grabbed his wrist, and yanked with everything I had. The receiver slipped free. I lifted it to my ear, breathless. "Hello," I whispered. There was a pause. Then a woman's voice, calm but urgent. "Mrs. Parker?" My heart skipped. "It's Miller now," I corrected without thinking. Another pause. "No," the voice said firmly. "It's Parker. And if you want to survive tonight, you need to leave him. Now." My entire body froze. Jason's eyes widened. He reached for the phone, but I turned my back, pressing it to my ear as tightly as I could. "Who is this?" I demanded. The woman's voice lowered. "I can't explain everything over the phone, but you're not the first. He's dangerous. Check the back of those papers he gave you. Don't let him make you sign anything. And whatever you do, don't stay in that room." Then the line went dead. The silence afterward was deafening. Jason's breathing grew ragged behind me. "Give me the phone, Emily." I turned slowly, clutching the receiver like a weapon. My voice came out steadier than I felt. "Who was that?" He didn't answer. He just stepped toward me, his eyes dark, his mouth set in a thin line. I backed up until my shoulders pressed against the wall. My mind raced. The photos, the contract, the mysterious call, everything connected like puzzle pieces I didn't want to see. My new husband wasn't just hiding secrets, he was hiding something dangerous. I needed time, space, a plan. So, I did the only thing I could think of. I dropped the phone onto the carpet, grabbed the lamp from the nightstand, and hurled it at the floor. Glass shattered everywhere, the sound splitting the air. Jason flinched, just enough for me to dart past him and grab my suitcase. "Emily," he barked, his voice sharp with fury. But I was already at the door, yanking it open with trembling hands. My suitcase wheels bumped over the carpet as I pulled it behind me. My heart pounded in my ears, louder than his footsteps coming after me. I ran down the hallway, my dress clinging to my legs, the photographs still pressed against my chest. And as I turned the corner toward the elevator, I collided with someone hard. My suitcase toppled, spilling open. Lipstick, shoes, charger, everything scattered across the floor. I looked up, dazed, and froze. It wasn't a hotel guest. It wasn't a staff member. It was the woman from the photographs. And in her hand, she was holding another envelope. The woman from the photographs crouched down, helping me gather my spilled things. Her movements were quick, nervous, but her eyes, sharp and steady, never left mine. She slid my charger into the suitcase, tucked one of my shoes back inside, then pressed the new envelope against my hand. "Emily," she whispered, her voice low and urgent, "you don't know who you married." I froze. My pulse thundered in my ears. I stared at her face, perfectly recognizable from the glossy black and white photos tucked against my chest. The curve of her cheek, the same cascade of dark hair. The same woman Jason had kissed outside the courthouse. I opened my mouth to speak, but before I could form words, I heard it. Jason's footsteps. Heavy, fast, getting closer. The woman's grip tightened on my hand. "You have to trust me. We don't have much time." I wanted to scream, to demand answers right there in the hallway. Who was she? Why did she have photos? Why was she calling me by my maiden name like the woman on the phone had? But the thud of Jason's footsteps snapped me back. Survival first. Questions later. The elevator dinged, the doors sliding open just a few feet away. The woman yanked my suitcase upright and shoved it toward the opening. "Go!" I stumbled inside, clutching the envelope she'd given me. My heart raced as the woman stepped in beside me, slamming the closed doors, button with frantic fingers. Just as the doors began to slide shut, Jason appeared at the corner of the hallway, his face twisted with rage. "Emily," he shouted, lunging forward. The doors sealed shut with a metallic clink before he could reach us. My knees went weak with relief, but my stomach churned with dread. I gripped the bar inside the elevator to steady myself. The woman leaned against the wall, her chest rising and falling fast. "You probably hate me right now," and you should. But I'm not your enemy. I swallowed hard. Then who are you? She looked at me, her eyes glistening. My name is Vanessa. And 3 months ago, I was supposed to marry him. The words hit me like a punch. My mouth went dry. My hands shook as I clutched both envelopes, the one Jason had given me and the one Vanessa just pressed into my palm. You're lying, I whispered, though even I didn't believe it. Her lips trembled into a bitter smile. I wish I was. The elevator dinged again as we hit the lobby. The doors opened, spilling us into the bright glow of the hotel entrance. The contrast was jarring, the quiet menace of the suite replaced by the cheerful chaos of people checking in, bellboys rolling carts, and families snapping photos in front of the fountain. I felt like I was standing in two worlds at once. Theirs, full of laughter and normalcy, and mine, fractured, spiraling, breaking apart with every new revelation. Vanessa grabbed my wrist. We need to get out of here before he follows. Open the envelope I gave you. Now. My fingers trembled as I tore it open. Inside were more photographs, this time of Jason sitting at a table with men I didn't recognize. Men with hard eyes and tattoos peeking out from under their sleeves. In some photos, stacks of cash were piled on the table. In others, Jason was shaking hands with them like he belonged to their world. And then, at the bottom of the stack, one photo made me gasp out loud. Jason wasn't just sitting at the table. He was handing over a folder with my bakery's name on it, Emily's Hearth and Home. I staggered back, the photo slipping from my hand. No. Vanessa's voice was sharp, urgent. He's been planning this. You weren't just his bride, Emily. You were his target. I felt like the floor beneath me had given way. Every sweet word he'd spoken, every promise, every vow, it was all strategy. My heart twisted painfully as the truth bled into me. Before I could respond, a shout echoed through the lobby. Emily, Jason's voice. He was coming down the escalator, his suit jacket flaring out, his eyes locked on me like a predator spotting prey. Vanessa grabbed my arm. Run. And just like that, we bolted through the glass doors of the hotel into the night air. My suitcase rattled behind me, the photographs clutched in my shaking hands. The city lights blurred around us. Car horns blared. People stared as we sprinted across the pavement, two women bound together by betrayal and fear. But even as I ran, my chest burned with a single, searing question. If Jason had lied about everything, what else was he willing to do to keep his secrets? The night air hit my face like a slap. My heels clattered against the pavement as Vanessa pulled me forward, weaving us through the crowd outside the hotel. People turned to stare, but no one moved to help. To them, we probably looked like two women late for a cab. They didn't hear the danger pounding in Jason's footsteps behind us. Emily, this way. Vanessa hissed, tugging me toward the side street. My suitcase bounced and toppled, wheels catching on the curb. I had no time to save it. I let go. All I clutched now were the two envelopes, the photographs burning against my chest like fire. Jason's voice rang out, deep and commanding. Emily, stop. For a split second, my body betrayed me. My steps faltered, my chest tightening at the sound of my husband's voice, the man I had promised forever, just hours earlier. But then I remembered. My gift said love, his gift said control. That was enough to make my legs find strength again. We cut into the narrow alley, shadows swallowing us. The sharp tang of trash bins filled the air. A cat darted across our path, its eyes glowing in the dark. My lungs burned. Vanessa? I panted. Where are we going? She didn't answer. She only pulled harder, her grip iron around my wrist. We burst out of the alley into a quieter street where a car was idling at the curb. A man sat behind the wheel, engine humming. He wore a baseball cap pulled low, but when he looked up, his expression wasn't casual. It was watchful, alert. Vanessa yanked the back door open. Get in. I froze. My heart screamed at me to move, but my brain screamed louder. Another stranger. Another trap. I backed away, shaking my head. No. I don't know you. I don't know him. How do I know this isn't worse? Jason's footsteps echoed closer, his shadows stretching long under the streetlight as he rounded the corner. His eyes locked on me, fury flashing. Emily. Panic ripped through me. Vanessa's voice cut through the chaos. Because I've been where you are. I made the mistake of trusting him once. I won't let him destroy you too. Please, Emily, get in the car. I glanced between the approaching storm of Jason and the open door of the car. My heart slammed against my ribs, each beat screaming at me to choose. Jason shouted again, his tone darker, sharper. Don't you dare. That snapped something in me. I didn't wait. I dove into the car. Vanessa scrambled in after me and slammed the door. The driver didn't need instructions. He hit the gas, tires screeching as we sped away. I turned in my seat just in time to see Jason lunge for the door handle. His hand smacked the window, his mouth twisting into a silent roar as the car shot forward, leaving him behind. I collapsed against the seat, my chest heaving. My hands still clutched the envelopes, crumpled from the chase. Vanessa reached over, gently prying them from me and setting them on her lap. You're safe for now. I shook my head. Safe? He knows where I live. He knows everything about me. He won't stop. The driver glanced at me in the rearview mirror. His voice was calm but firm. That's why we can't take you home. My blood ran cold. I straightened in my seat. Then where are you taking me? Vanessa's eyes glistened in the dim light. Somewhere you can finally learn the truth about Jason Miller and about what he's been planning for you. Her words sent a shiver down my spine. The city lights blurred past, neon signs and glowing windows fading into streaks of color. My body trembled, torn between fear of what I'd just escaped and dread of what lay ahead. Because deep down I already knew this wasn't just betrayal. This was bigger, darker. And the man I had married wasn't just a liar. He was something far worse. And I was about to find out exactly what. The hum of the car engine filled the silence, steady and low, but it did nothing to calm the storm inside me. My fingers twisted together in my lap. I stared out the window as the city lights blurred past, every glowing billboard and street lamp reminding me how far from safety I felt. Vanessa sat beside me, her hands pressed flat against the envelopes in her lap. The driver's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror now and then, as if measuring me, as if weighing whether I could handle what was coming. Finally, I couldn't stand it anymore. Why should I trust you? My voice cracked, raw from the sprint, from the fear. You show up in photos kissing my husband 3 weeks before my wedding. You hand me proof he's been lying. And now you drag me into some stranger's car. How do I know you're not just part of his plan? Vanessa turned to me slowly. Her eyes weren't angry. They were tired. Tired in a way that made me ache. Because, Emily, she whispered, I already survived the part of his plan you're just beginning to see. And I wouldn't wish that on anyone. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. What do you mean? The driver glanced back again, then spoke for the first time since we pulled away from the hotel. She means Jason isn't who he says he is. Not to you. Not to anyone. His voice was low, clipped. Almost military. Vanessa nodded, her gaze fixed on me. Jason finds women like us. Women who've built something, women with dreams. He charms us, makes us feel safe, loved. Then, when we're trapped, he takes everything. Money. Businesses. Even reputations. He doesn't just break hearts, Emily. He destroys lives. My stomach twisted. The memory of his gift slammed back into my mind, the contract, the lines about transferring ownership, silence, control. The way he looked at me like I was an asset, not a person. You're lying, I said weakly, even as the words felt hollow. Vanessa reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small flash drive, holding it between her fingers like it weighed more than gold. These are recordings. Documents. Proof. Everything you need to see what he's done, not just to me, but to others. You're not the first woman he's tried to trap. But you can be the last if you're brave enough. The car slowed as the driver turned down a dimmer street, rows of closed shops lining the sidewalks. A neon sign buzzed faintly overhead, half its letters burned out. The world outside felt empty, abandoned, as if no one would hear me if I screamed. Fear clawed at my chest. I pressed my back into the seat, clutching the edge. "Where are you taking me?" The driver pulled into a dark alley behind an old warehouse and cut the engine. He turned in his seat, meeting my wide eyes. "Somewhere safe. Somewhere he won't think to look. But if you step out of this car, Emily, there's no going back. You'll be stepping into a war you didn't start." The air seemed to thicken. I could still hear Jason's voice echoing in my head. "Emily, sign the papers." And then Vanessa's. "You weren't just his bride. You were his target." I looked down at the flash drive glowing faintly in Vanessa's hand, then at the envelopes with my bakery's name in Jason's handwriting. My bakery. My dream. My life. I took a deep breath, feeling a strange calm settle over me. "Open the door." Vanessa's eyes widened slightly. "Are you sure?" I nodded. My hands were steady now. If Jason thought he could own me, then he doesn't know who I am. "Show me the truth." "All of it." The driver gave a single nod, then stepped out, opening the warehouse door. But just as Vanessa and I moved to follow, the silence of the alley shattered. Headlights swung around the corner, blinding and sharp, followed by the roar of an engine I knew too well. Jason's black car skidded to a stop at the mouth of the alley. And when I saw him step out, his face lit by the glow of the headlights, his fury cold and contained, I realized the war wasn't waiting inside the warehouse. It had already found me. Jason stepped out of the car, his suit jacket flaring behind him like the wings of a predator. The headlights framed him in a halo of light, but there was nothing holy in his expression. His eyes, those same eyes that once told me I was safe, were now sharp, calculating, and merciless. "Emily," he called, his voice echoing in the narrow alley.
"Calm. Too calm."
"The kind of calm that hides a storm. Come here. We can still fix this." Vanessa stiffened beside me, pulling me slightly behind her. The driver positioned himself between Jason and us, shoulders squared like a shield. Jason's gaze flicked to Vanessa, and a cold smile curved his lips. "Of course you'd crawl out of the shadows. Couldn't resist ruining someone else's life, could you?" Vanessa's jaw tightened, her voice steady despite the tremor I felt in her hand gripping mine. "You already ruined mine, Jason. I won't let you ruin hers too." Jason chuckled, low and dangerous. "You think you're some kind of savior? Don't forget you signed, Vanessa. You gave me everything. And you crawled away with nothing." His eyes snapped back to me, softer now, almost tender. "But Emily, you're smarter than that. You'll sign. You'll stay. You'll thank me one day." My heart hammered, but my voice rose, clear in the night. "You gave me a watch, Jason. A symbol of time together. And what did you give me? A contract to steal my life. That's not love. That's a prison." For the first time, his calm cracked. His jaw clenched. "You don't understand what's at stake." The driver's voice cut through, deep and steady. "I think she understands perfectly. You're not getting her back." Jason's eyes narrowed, studying him. "You again. Always hiding behind someone stronger, Emily? You'll find out. Men like him can't save you. Not from me." And then he moved.
Fast.
Too fast. He lunged toward us, his hand reaching inside his jacket. Vanessa shoved me backward as the driver stepped forward, blocking Jason's path. The sound of fabric rustling filled the air, followed by a flash of metal glinting under the headlights. Jason wasn't just reaching for me. He was reaching for a weapon. "Jason, no." I cried, my voice breaking. But it was too late. The gun gleamed in his hand, aimed directly at us. The world slowed. My breath caught, my legs rooted to the ground. Vanessa screamed my name, shoving me harder toward the warehouse door. The driver reached for his own side, his body tense, ready. Jason's finger tightened on the trigger. And in that split second, standing in the middle of the alley with the weight of betrayal burning in my chest, I realized I wasn't just fighting for my bakery, my dreams, or my freedom. I was fighting for my life.